Hi, I'm Mizzy, and I'm a mixed girl on a mixed up world. This is the third episode in my series of interviews that I conducted with Brandon Embry's mother. He was a 33-year-old Navy veteran found beaten, bloody, and naked in his Asheboro, North Carolina apartment on September 12th, 2019. He unfortunately passed on September 13th, 2019. In this episode, we continue to talk about female number one, and we introduce female number two. We discuss their similarities and also whether or not we think they know each other. We also discuss how female number one knew an awful lot about the crime scene before any information was released about the crime scene. So please watch this, please spread this, so we can find out what happened to Brandon. Brandon's case needs to be reopened. So please help us find out who murdered Brandon Embry.
So I go back to the fact that the ER doctor said that he had been down for several days. And what threw me off was trying to figure out, okay, well, how long was he actually down? Was that they did the search warrant on his phone, and Tuesday night it was saying that he had a 13-minute phone call with someone. And I also didn't understand this, which later I compare my phone records, and I tried to call him at 8 o'clock, around 8 o'clock, and he didn't answer. 8 p.m. And then he supposedly has this phone call Tuesday night at 9:30 for 13 minutes. But then I call him only 30 minutes later and he still doesn't answer.
Yeah, that's odd. You know, if your mother calls you, you know, it's understandable if you're not available to take the call. But if she calls you back again 2 hours later, you're like, oh, something might be up. I need to answer this phone call, see what my mom wants.
He definitely would have called me back if he was home, but I had rationalized it like maybe he was out somewhere, he was busy, and that's why he didn't answer me right away. But from what I was told from this phone call was this person was saying that he was home and that she talked to him and he was fine. He was just like basically hanging out at home. So I thought, okay, you know, then
this person, because this person comes into the story and it's kind of still mysterious. The person he spoke to supposedly on that night, I should say, was another female who is from Virginia.
Correct.
Why don't you tell me about her?
Okay, so when the detective called the two females, he definitely thought the female from South Carolina was something was very off with her, but he seemed to have a favorable opinion of the girl from Virginia. So not a lot of questions were asked. And he said, would I like to talk to her? Because, you know, then I could, you know, I still had questions about what happened to Brandon, who he had been with, that kind of thing. And he said that he would ask her to give me a call, and she does. And I talked to her. This was still pretty early on with grief, and grief just really clouds your judgment and your objectivity. You know, I remember a little bit of, you know, what she said, but it was nothing very specific. And I think, you know, as a mom, you are looking for specific. The slightest things just can be so like endearing, and you just want to know these things about your child. And but she relays this phone call, and it was just very nondescript. And so after this phone call, she, you know, I also am like texting her a little bit. She's not very responsive, but one of the things that she asks me right away, just like the other female, is if Brandon was cremated. So later on, I noticed that immediately both females have asked me if Brandon was cremated, but neither one really asked if there was a service for him or, you know, just the normal things that people would do when someone has passed, let alone these were supposed to be girlfriends. And which also didn't make sense to me because Brandon was not the type to have two girlfriends. So that I couldn't understand even from the start, but you know, I try to keep an open mind while I'm trying to figure out what happened.
Yeah.
And the detective had thought maybe the relationship with one was fizzling out and that he was moving towards the other female. And after many conversations, after asking a lot of questions, I don't think that he was actually having any type of relationship or romantic interest in this girl from Virginia. I don't know what her role is, but something is definitely off with that.
Yeah. So it's just odd that neither of them asked about a service.
Right.
You know, even especially female number one, she claims that she was dating him.
Mm-hmm. The love of his life.
Yeah, they were going to get married and all this stuff. And it's like, if that was the case, that would be can I help you with the service? You know, those are the things that people move. And I mean, if she was a grieving person, she would still want to know when his service was and if there was anything she could do. You know, can I give you pictures? Can I, you know, do you need me to help you with anything? Is there food I can make? What can I do? That's a normal reaction of somebody who to the love of their life being.
And she seemed to easily come to Asheboro and be in the area. So it wouldn't be a stretch for her to, you know, have those normal, to offer those normal things or to want to be a part of it. So that is definitely another strange behavior, another strange reaction. Both of them do not really, they say they're talking to Brandon romantically. The one, I was actually friends with her on Instagram for a while, and I noticed that there was no post about losing a friend, nothing at all. And I thought that was extremely odd that, you know, in the social media arena, usually,
yes,
you know, there's a place where you express a loss or, you know, some type of remembrance or something, and there was nothing. So I thought that was very strange. And then I find out that as I start asking questions like, well, do you have photos of the two of you together, or, you know, what were your conversations or things like that? And I really wasn't even asking in an investigative way, but just asking out of curiosity. When I learned that both females get new phones immediately after Brandon died. And they said that everything was deleted. So they both get new phones, and they are telling me everything is deleted, that they have no photos. And usually if someone dies, those things become very precious. Any messages become very precious. Any photo, you know, because now you've lost someone and that's all you have left.
And you're just a mom looking for, because, you know, as a mom, you don't see your child's life. You don't see what they are with their girlfriends behind closed doors and those things. So you're just looking for, you know, memories of him when he was happy and little pieces to, you know, fill part of the story for you, and you're not getting anything. Didn't female 2 from Virginia not remember what website they met on? Because they also met on an app.
Yes, everything about her. So then once, you know, she starts telling you these details, and then, you know, like later on, like I start thinking about things and putting things together. And then I go back over these messages and I look at the text from where I first started talking to her, And this stuff starts not making any sense at all. So she tells me that she doesn't have any photos, but she'll have to look and see what is like on the cloud. She'll have to look on the dating app and see what's on there. And then she tells me that she deleted the dating app, so she doesn't have anything any longer. And then she tells me she doesn't remember which dating app it was. And I think, well, how do you delete it if you don't remember?
Yeah.
How can you go back and delete it if you didn't even remember which one it was?
Yeah.
And, you know, and I'm talking to my daughter about this, and I said, you know, even if you were just casually talking to someone, but then they all of a sudden died under mysterious circumstances, wouldn't those things kind of become ingrained in your memory? Like all the details really become, you know, very like kind of significant. And it was like they very much tried to erase any, if, you know, whatever there was, any trace of talking to Brandon.
Let's kind of keep going on that, because I want to mention something about female one. Now, the police wanted to speak to her, and did they speak to her over the phone first?
So the first time that they wanted to talk to her was in November, and that was the time then she started talking about the sleeping pills, and I was recording her over the phone, and I sent that to the police. And in that conversation, she said that she was going to call them and cancel. She was going to say that she had a doctor's appointment. So then the detective lets me know that she does cancel. She tells the detective that she has food poisoning. He will eventually question her. He asks her to come in December, and she goes in, and he does a search warrant on her phone. He asked to, like, I guess, download her phone, and then they do a search warrant for it, for what they've downloaded. And he tells me he's going to call me with the results. And he said they should be in the next day, and he'll give me a call. And this was around the holidays of 2019, but he never calls. We never get any type of information about the search warrant. He did tell me that what he had seen of it, that she was talking to someone who was in prison in Virginia. So, but he didn't elaborate. He just said that he wondered who she was talking to, and that he could tell that it was someone in a prison.
Yeah. Going along with that, there's this part, kind of rewinding it back, from something that she said early on in their relationship. Female number one claimed that she was on the phone with Brandon and she caught her husband cheating. That's just odd to me. It makes no sense, because what's going on with your relationship? Why is she upset that she caught her husband cheating if she's technically cheating on him too? It's like,
Exactly. It just really didn't make any sense. So she's telling me she met Brandon on this app Hinge, and she said that she discovers her husband in bed with a young girl, and she was really upset about this and how her husband could do that to her, but yet she's on a dating app meeting men.
yeah,
It doesn't add up. Nothing
unless they had
nothing about their whole story adds up.
Unless they had an open relationship, but if they did, she wouldn't be mad about catching a female
The cheating,
you know, because she said it was cheating. So she sends you, well, you guys talk on Messenger this is with female number one, about her having to go to the police. And she is freaking out about having to go to the police. Like, very dramatic for somebody who claims that he was the love of her life. And one of the things that made my blood just curdle, I felt the hair just go up on the back of my neck. She says something to the effect of, what do they know that I don't know? She said it repeatedly. And of course the police are going to know stuff you don't know unless you were there. And why you wouldn't be freaking out about that if you had nothing to hide. That's not something somebody says when they are just going to go in and tell them about their boyfriend and his life and what he was into, what, hey, no, he wasn't doing this. He liked to play video games. It makes no sense. Why would you say, what do they know that I don't know?
Yeah, I don't know. Like, it makes me wonder. Like, they might know. What if, this is my PTSD, though. I wonder what they know versus what they don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what do you know that I don't know? What do you know that his mom doesn't know?
Mm-hmm.
She sent me so many messages of saying that she also wanted to find out what happened to him. So in my mind, why would she have any reservations about talking to them and helping them figure out what happened?
Yeah.
Like, just to, I wanted to find out what happened to him. I, went in to talk to them. So she was having, she must have repeated that she was stressed out about 20 times in that conversation. She just kept repeating, I'm so stressed out. I'm so stressed out.
I don't know. I'm just stressed now. I don't want to be stressed out.
I don't think you should stress out.
I'm stressed out at the moment, and I don't want to be stressed.
Mm-hmm.
And
I believe that's the conversation too. 1 minute she's like crying, and the next minute she's like laughing. It was such a bizarre. I believe that's the conversation. Correct me if I'm wrong, but it was such a bizarre and like it makes you like go ugh conversation. Like it's like, what is wrong with this girl?
Yes, it was like she was like feigning these emotions, or she just can quickly switch from one emotion to another.
Yeah.
And there are instances where we're sad and somebody may say something, but it really is, if you listen to it, it's a very eerie.
Yes. Yes. And it takes a lot
maniacal,
for my skin to crawl, because I'm like horror movie girl. I am like, that stuff doesn't make it. She made my skin crawl when I listened to it again last night, and like the hairs on the back of my neck went up, and it's unnerving. It's unnerving, that specific call that you had with her.
When I went back to go through the audio and where she mentioned, like, what do the police know that I don't know? She also said, and what do the police know that his mom doesn't know? And I'm the mom. I'm on the phone with her.
Yeah.
And it was a very, like, just odd, like, not saying, I wonder what the police know that they haven't told you. Like, it was almost like, it was a very odd way to me that she worded that. And it also, like, going back and listening to that again, I think one of the reasons that she stayed in close communication with me is to find out, what did I know? What am I finding out? What are the police telling me? How is the case going? And I feel like it was very intentional, and that, to be honest, that was a two-way street. I stayed in communication with her because I felt she was involved and I wanted to know what she had to say about it. And she was staying in communication with me to find out how the case was coming along.
I told you this before we went live. I commend you so much, and I have so much respect that you were able to stay calm and talk to this woman, because she has answers that you need to get justice for your son, whether she's involved or she just knows what happened, whether she was there or just knows what happened. You had this calmness of talking to her, and I was like, I would not have been able to do what you did. So kudos to you for doing that.
Thank you.
You were so composed. I mean, most people would have been on the floor crying, curled up in a ball, and you were keeping this girl going so you can get any information you could from her. And that's just amazing because you were fighting for your son. Because I know that you knew she had something to do with it, and you know, you had to bite it and swallow it to keep talking to her.
And I knew that she was like a pathological liar, that she was telling me things that could not be true, but I knew that there would be shreds of truth to what she was saying. So I kept trying to just keep letting her talk and, you know, hoping that I would be able to piece things together. And even now, it's like things that she said that I thought she was just talking, they were actually relevant. Like she might be talking about food, and I go back and look at the crime scene photos, and whatever food she's talking about was food that was at the apartment. She would talk about pizza.
Pizza.
There had been pizza ordered like right before the pizza box was.
I believe it said the 8th.
Yes, the pizza box was on the 8th, and it was on the bed. And, you know, to just keep, even now, after all this time, I can still go back through those messages, and there are hidden clues. There's hidden things that she was talking about that I still probably have not even discovered or put together yet.
She was talking about in one of the messages, I don't know if it was text or if it was a voice message, it was a text. She said one of the last meals they shared together was spaghetti, and he cooked meat and they made garlic bread. And in the crime scene photos, you see pasta in a strainer that was cooked, but it was dried up. You see the pan that whatever the meat was cooked in. You see a pot in the back, and you see garlic, a bulb of garlic on the counter. So things that nobody would know unless they were in his apartment are in the crime scene photos.
Yes. And something that's really creepy about that is that she says that's one of the last meals that they had together, but I don't know that Brandon ate that spaghetti. I think she was there for days cleaning, and she may have been eating, and, you know, because there were all those Walmart bags, and that spaghetti was a Walmart brand. It might have been something that while he laid there dying, gasping for air, that she's in there cooking spaghetti and going on with her cleaning. And it is just a really creepy thought.
Yes.
But
and it's also sick. I was actually talking to my mother about this. I said, you know, when you look at anybody who murders somebody, that's sick. You got people who do that. But there are two things, like you know, to let somebody, you know, if you shoot somebody and they die, that's horrible, but it's fast. They're not languishing for we don't know how long in pain and laying there dying. And as we suspect, he was paralyzed, so he was just there, and she's cleaning around him. And it's like, it's that to me is that is also a form of his torture.
Yes. The length of time to not render aid.
Yes.
If, you know, like if something was done in the heat of the moment, or, you know, just hearing of any death or suffering is terrible. But, you know, I'm looking at this went on, you know, going back to what the emergency room doctor said, this was days. So I'm going all the way back to this could have started Sunday or Monday, and he wasn't found until Thursday, and then he died on Friday. That's a lot of days to suffer.
What is the last day you actually spoke to him, like physically spoke to him?
The last day I spoke to Brandon where I heard his voice was his birthday, which was Saturday night on the 7th. And the pizza was ordered on Sunday. And I'm still trying to look at that handwriting to confirm that that's his signature. So that was Sunday. So, and there were things bought.
That's something that we're going to get into the police, but where was dusting of the pizza box for fingerprints? Was there any pizza crust still in the box they could have got DNA off of? Like,
there were all those bags, and I feel like, and also in his vehicle, just receipts, different things where I felt like, things could have contributed to finding a timeline. And it just was, honestly, I just don't feel like there was very much effort, very much manpower, just, things that they did, I just feel like was minimal.
Yes. And we're going to get into the next video. We're going to get into the investigation portion of this. But there's so much weirdness around these two women.
And I think maybe one of the reasons that maybe the reason why the female one from South Carolina, supposedly, that she felt so open to talk to me and drop these breadcrumbs and leave these clues is because she could see that she was really safe to do so. Nobody was really, other than them saying they wanted to talk to her, there really wasn't a whole lot going on.
Yeah, there's no urgency.
And I also feel like, even though her driver's license said South Carolina, and she said that that's where she was from, I kind of feel like she may have been in the area, that it's possible that when she sent that first message to ask for her clothing back, that she had clothing and belongings in Brandon's apartment, that she could have been watching, she could have been driving by and seeing that we were there gathering up his things, because she asked for her things back on the same day that they went to start cleaning out the apartment.
Because she was probably trying to figure out what was going on. And, that was a way of her asking, so what do you know?
Yeah.
Unbelievable. Now, this is just us speculating. We don't have any proof. Do you think female one and female two know each other?
I think it is very, very likely that they know each other. There's a saying that you are a lot alike the three people you hang around the most. And there are so many similarities between these two that numerous people have asked me if I think that maybe they're the same person, and they are a different person. Like, I've seen the photos, I've talked to them both on the phone, the different, distinguishable different voices. So I know they are two different people, but there are a lot of similarities, like even like going back to them both asking, was he cremated? Them both getting new phones. They both have, these contradicting stories that they have photos, but they're on the cloud, but they were deleted, and they, it's just on. And the similarities are striking by the way they handle the situation. Their answers are never straightforward.
To go along, because this is the section that we're talking about this in, there was a communication sent to your daughter.
Yes.
That was very disturbing. There was a male named Larry Woods, I believe.
Larry Weeds.
Mm-hmm. Larry Weeds, and he started communicating with your daughter, and I believe she started feeling icky about it. I guess that's what you say.
Mm-hmm.
And then another person, a woman named, was it April Weeds?
Yes.
She contacted her and said some not nice things to her, and then said, I'm not sure if she said brother or I killed Brandon.
I killed your brother.
And obviously that's horrific and disturbing. But in that text, female number one has a very distinct way of talking.
Mm-hmm.
She adds S's and like use. She says use instead of you.
Mm-hmm.
And in that communication, there was some odd language, and there was an S add to a word that definitely you wouldn't add an S to. Do you think that person was female number one?
It is the same speech pattern, which is, as you stated, adding S's that don't belong to words. Another example is that she would say from the starts instead of from the start. She would just add random S's over and over again to many words. And that was in the message that was sent. And I also saw like many things that I started looking up that she fit the criteria for a psychopath. And also with a psychopath, you know, they would do things like that. They want the attention.
Manipulating people.
Mm-hmm. Manipulating people. They want some notoriety. They are seeking to be recognized. Like they're in a way, they're proud of their crimes.
Yeah.
And that's part of, I think, dropping the breadcrumbs. She, you know, I guess it had been kind of quiet. So this was a way for her to stir up attention.
Yeah.
And she probably felt very safe to do so. And on that note, speaking of that, there were also in Brandon's apartment building, there were 2 fires. And another characteristic of a psychopath is arson, that they like to start fires. And I don't feel like the fires were really explained of how they were started. So Brandon's apartment, like he had his complex, and then there were like wings of complexes. So it just kind of formed like a U.
Mm-hmm.
And the if you're looking at Brandon's apartment, it would be the set that was to the right. And 2019, the year that he died, but he was still alive, July 4th or 5th, there was a fire started. And then the following year on 2020, July 4th or 5th, it was like almost a year apart, another fire was started.
That's very weird.
Mm-hmm. And she was in the area for like both times. We had just had, the last time I met with her was June 27th. And she said that she had just came back from Virginia, that she was staying with a friend in Virginia.
Yeah. I wonder which friend.
Yeah.
I wonder which friend. Now going back to her writing, again, she has a very distinct way of writing. She adds S's and sometimes other letters. But she also is the run-on sentence queen. I can recognize that because I am a run-on sentence queen. So there's some weird communications with, I don't know if it's texts with Brandon from her or if they're texts with you, I can't remember. That where it would go from her distinct way of talking, and then the next sentence or paragraph would be like it was a total different person talking. There were periods, commas, you know, all the punctuation there. Your words were spelled correctly. Do you think it was 2 people communicating with you? And I believe in some of the texts, during the time when Brandon was sending texts that we don't know if he was able to send texts.
Mm-hmm.
They look like different people were sending the text almost too.
Yeah.
Do you think there were like, especially hers, it was like going from yous and then the next person's like, it's like the Queen's English, you know, that's how proper it was like a totally different person was communicating. Do you think that it was two people, or is it her disguising herself? Because it sounds like two people. Like it doesn't even sound like it's the same person writing that message.
Yeah. And I hadn't thought about that before, but I really think that that is possible. Like two people that could have been involved and feeling very comfortable to send these texts. And, you know, and that could be why a lot of it didn't make sense, even for her.
Yeah.
You know, even like one of the texts that was sent to his phone was that it was like they were worried to death. They wanted to know what happened to him. Like, are you in the hospital? Are you in jail? What has happened to you? Did something life-altering happen to you? Which is very extreme.
Yeah, and I don't even know if you're dead or alive. I think believe comments. But even that's one of the texts I was talking about. If you look at that text, it looks like it's two different people sending the message.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree that it doesn't flow. Either, you know, it seems like it would either be these like broken phrases put together for the sentence with, you know, kind of the strange language that she does. But then there's normal language in there too. So it very possibly could have been two people texting.
Because when we talked before we started recording, I told you how me and my friend years ago in our early 20s, we used to talk to guys online and it was both of us talking. So I would say, type this. And so it would be my language, and then she would type something, and we'd sit there and chuckle because they think they're talking to one girl, and you know they're talking to two different girls, and we're saying, because we were just messing around, we were just trying to have fun on like a Friday night because she had a young kid, and she couldn't go out, so that was our fun. So that's what it reminded me of. Like obviously it wasn't that kind of situation, but it reminded me of that, how it was two of us. And sometimes it would be one of us typing in, the other one not typing. Like if she had run to the restroom, she'd be like, take over, and I'd type it in. So it would totally be two different, you know, styles of writing.
Yes. And that actually is a very like feasible explanation for some of the language. And I bet I could go back through a lot of the messages that she sent and find examples of that. That there is also, I think, the possibility that she developed two extreme like personas, because she is really I've never met anyone like her, and she really does remind me of some of these people that do these like horrible crimes where they're like duping people and setting people up and murdering people. She has that personality,
like a Black Widow, where she comes in, she molds herself to the male's life, gets what she can from them, and then takes off. Now, before we wrap up this section of our interview, I asked you about his military pension and stuff like that. And you didn't know. The question I had asked her was who is his next of kin in his military pension, and you didn't know. And I remember reading that you were gonna check to see if there were any insurance policies in his name. Did you get any information on that?
I did inquire about the it would have been the VGLI. So for active duty, they call it SGLI. And then once they're veterans, it's the VGLI. And they said that there wasn't a policy.
Okay.
But there is another way that they can check I believe it's like 500 policies, because there have been people that would take a lot of small policies out, and therefore it's like less suspicious. So that is something I still want to check into, just to, just process of elimination.
Yeah.
Um,
Because ethical glycol, if this person was trying to, because he did have some money in the bank, and the amount of money he had, people have been killed for less.
yes.
But if they were going for his money and maybe a pension, or getting him to sign a life policy that you don't know about, with ethylene glycol poison, which is antifreeze, so people, they're so sick, they do not know what is going on. So for her or whoever to put a pen in his hand and tell him to sign it, he wouldn't even remember that he did that.
And she also made this very strange comment to me, that she said that she had OCD. And I asked her, and I had already observed her, and there was no OCD. And I asked her, well, how did it like manifest? How did it come out? And she said that her OCD came out that she would have to write her signature over and over again and practice it and write it on Post-its. And to me, this is where the half truth comes in. And I think she was practicing a signature, but not hers.
Yeah.
Probably practicing Brandon's signature to forge documents. She said that she had taken a bunch of his papers, that he asked her to take a bunch of his papers from the VA. She told me that she had his social security number. She said that she had the PIN to his bank account. I remember asking her, like, oh, do you happen to have his PIN? And she said, I lost the Post-it that I had it written on. So, I mean, it just definitely is a lot of suspicious.
It could be identity theft, or she was just a black widow going, just we don't know.
And there's the possibility that they were interrupted, or she was interrupted, and he was going to become a missing person. There's a lot of strange things that haven't been explained yet. And
that's where the police come in, and we're going to talk about that on our next part of this. So I'm Mizzy, and I'm a mixed girl in a mixed up world. Make sure you come back for the next part of our story. Thank you.